Do you remember ever going to judgment houses?
Oh God, yes, yes. And just to just bring home for anyone who may be listening, just to bring home why we're talking about this one more time. What you and I were talking about this week was like, how can a kid become who they truly are if they're getting all of these messages thrown at them that are so confusing, that are scaring them half to death, that are taking them out of their creativity and their exploration? And certainly the Judgment House was one of those. Those Judgment Houses scared me shitless. So why don't you tell people what the Judgment House was and how it affected you?
Yeah, traumatizing. Instead of so judgment houses would pop up around Halloween usually when all of the spooky haunted houses were popping up as a Christian alternative to the haunted house. And you'd go through and you'd see somebody living recklessly, and then there'd be like a car accident or a motorcycle accident or a house fire or whatever. It had people from the church dressed up and playing these characters. It was like a play that you could walk through. Great in theory, but then you get to the hell scene and it's just awful. Like this person dies tragically in whatever way, and they go to hell. And you see that. And I don't remember I don't remember the redemptive part of it. Do you? Like I don't remember any heaven scene because I think I was so stuck on the hell stuff that I don't even remember the good parts.
Well, we've been to several. I do remember, there was one that was a rapture one. That was the one that messed me up the most.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, Judgment Houses were way scarier than anything I ever learned about around Halloween because that stuff stuck with me psychologically.
You're told that that's real in a haunted house. You know that it's not real. You know that that's not that those things don't really happen or they're made up to be scarier. But you're told that that judgment house, that's how it actually really is. This is a real depiction of what's going to happen to you. That's scary as hell.
No pun intended. But, actually, I do remember there was a heaven scene in one of them because they were trying to juxtapose the righteous person who had gotten saved at the last minute and sitting at the right hand of the Father with Jesus and, all that stuff, and then you go to hell, and that makes hell even more, like, gripping and yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the heaven part because I think I was just so messed up by the rest of it. Like, ugh, it's so weird because I enjoy listening to like the hellfire and brimstone preachers just because of the way they talk. Like,
At least they weren't boring, right?
right, like the sing-songy kind of preacher that gets real loud in some places and real soft in others. Like they know how to emotionally draw you in. They're fun to listen to, but not like really listen to. If you really listen to them, it's going to scare the crap out of you.
The
Um,
world's going to hell in a handbasket.
Literally, you're going with it. Yes, I am worried about my kids' soul and their future after death, but at the same time, I'm trying to be realistic and acknowledge that I don't know what that looks like. And around here, there's always the Bible's clear, the Bible's clear, the Bible's clear. There's some things that the Bible's not super clear about. Hell is one of those. The Bible is not super clear about hell, and I'm not going to go off on that tangent, but if someone has time and they feel like looking into it, look into the times that you see hell in the Bible and look into the actual words that were used back then because they mean something different than what we have in our brain. They don't mean the same things, and in certain places there are times that we have to look at the Bible as what it was when it was written, um, letters to people or people metaphors, people trying to make sense of the things that they didn't understand, which is what we're all still doing today, trying to make sense of the things that we don't understand. So, what happens after you die was a thing that people didn't understand. So, they they turned a lot to Greek mythology for that. Um, Talking about the depths of Hades. Well, look into Greek mythology a little more. I don't know, just do your own research. And I know everybody's opposed to research these days, but look into it yourself, figure out what you believe.
That's what I'm saying. Kids naturally know how to be creative and explore, and when they're taught all these fear messages, they grow up into adults who aren't able to explore and be creative and be curious and look into whether or not there is a hell, or they just take it at face value because they got all these messages from childhood that basically, I'm not a fan of the word trauma or PTSD because it's one of those words that have brainwashed people into like, oh, I know what that means. It means this or that.
It gets overused for sure.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And but I do think kids get traumatized over these messages that they hear. And like the simplest word, if it's said the wrong way to a sensitive child can, it can kind of take them out. And then they grow up and they're 25, 30 years old and they don't even remember what happened. And they have all this fear and all this contempt prior to investigating these really important things about how to live and how to die and all of it. And it's like, just for example, I was thinking when you were talking about the Bible stories, like Noah's Ark is a pretty violent and judgmental and condemning thing that, God did to the human race. And like, do we really have to teach that to kids? Can we not teach them about a sweeter, like maybe Psalm 23 or,
Yeah, that was always talk to the kids about, because how do I explain that God killed all the babies too? Because their minds can connect those dots. Like their little brains, while they're not developmentally ready to understand it, they're not stupid and they can still connect those dots. So even if you don't say God killed the babies, they're still going to figure that out. And there's places where the babies did get killed, and it's made pretty clear. One of the things that you mentioned, the couple that came to talk to you, you said they had
wait, before we go there, can I just say one thing? Okay, I'll be a little bit more specific than you were around the whole hell thing. I have done my research, and it's kind of like the babies coming into the world sinful. Like, if you really believe in a God that loves humans and did all the things that the New Testament talks about, or if you just have any common sense, right? Like God is like our parent. Like, would a parent ever send a child to hell or kill them? Like, I guess if they're a fucking psychopath, but I mean, how could I believe in a God that would send anybody to hell? Or even make that place. Like, I just think it's like all the research I've done aside, like when I just look at it through the eyes of like me as an adult holding even someone else's baby that's not my own, I just can't fathom a creator, whether it's a person or whether it's energy in the universe or whatever you want to call it or think of it as. How could they send any of us to anything that's not benevolent and good and wholesome after this life? And also, like, there's enough hell on this earth for their, like, let's just focus on that instead. Like, let's get ourselves out of the hell on earth. And part of the hell on earth is like teaching our kids all this crap. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Please consider going over to patreon.com/Patrick A. Parker and subscribing. And while supplies last, when you subscribe, I will send you a version of my book, Becoming Who You Truly Are, on Audible. And until the next episode, I wish you nothing but the best on your life's journey to becoming all that you truly are.